I'm writing this on day 30. My laptop battery is at 34%. I've been rationing it carefully, only turning it on to document the important things, the things that need to be remembered. I don't know if anyone will ever read this. I don't know if I'll be able to send it once the battery dies, but I need to write it down anyway. I need someone to know what happened here. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm still alive in the Clearwater Ridge Community Center with about 200 other people, and we've been buried under snow for a month. Not regular snow, something else. Something that falls up sometimes. Something that watches. Let me start at the beginning. Day 1, November 3rd. The storm was supposed to be routine. 8 to 12 inches, the weather service said. We get those all the time up here in the Colorado Rockies. I'd only been living in Clearwater Ridge for 8 months, working remotely as a data analyst, and I had already seen 3 decent snowfalls. This was supposed to be the same. It started snowing around 6 in the morning. I remember watching it from my apartment window, coffee in hand, thinking how peaceful it looked. By noon, we had 3 feet on the ground. 3 feet in 6 hours. The weather service had no explanation. They kept saying the storm should pass, that this was an anomaly, that it would clear by evening. It didn't. By 6 that night, we had 6 feet of snow, and the power went out across town. That's when Sheriff David Hayes started organizing people to head to the community center. It was the newest building in town, had a generator, was set up as the designated emergency shelter. I grabbed my laptop and some clothes and headed over with about 50 other people from my neighborhood. By midnight on day 1, there were 200 of us packed into the converted gymnasium. The snow was 8 feet deep and still falling. I remember Dr. Rebecca Walsh, our town physician, setting up a medical station in the corner. I remember Tyler Bennett, this 19-year-old kid who worked at the hardware store, volunteering to check the generator outside. I remember the look on his face when he came back. Day 2, Tyler was only outside for 7 minutes. The generator was in an attached shed, maybe 20 feet from the main door. He was wearing heavy winter gear, the kind that should keep you warm in negative 20-degree weather. When he came back, he wouldn't speak. He just stood there, shaking, his face pale. Dr. Walsh took him to the medical area, and we all tried to go back to what we were doing, which was mostly sitting around worrying and trying to keep warm. An hour later, Tyler finally spoke. I was close enough to hear. "It's not snow," he said. "I don't know what it is, but it's not snow." Dr. Walsh asked him what he meant. He held up his hands. Even through his gloves, even through all that gear, he had frostbite. But the patterns were wrong. They looked deliberate, almost like words written on his skin in white. The cell towers went down that morning. We'd been able to make calls the night before, let people know we were safe, tell them the situation. By 8 in the morning on day 2, nothing worked. No calls, no internet, no way to contact anyone outside town. Sheriff Hayes told us not to worry. The storm would pass. Rescue would come. We had supplies for a week, maybe 2 if we rationed. Everything would be fine. By that night, we had 12 feet of snow outside. 3 people who tried to make it home earlier that day came back to the shelter. They came in quietly, didn't talk to anyone, just walked to the windows and stood there, staring out at the white. We started calling them the changed ones. Day 5. I started keeping detailed notes on day 5, not just because I thought someone might need a record, but because I needed to understand. I needed patterns, data, something rational to hold on to. The snow was now falling in multiple directions. I watched it through the big gymnasium windows. It fell up as often as it fell down. It fell sideways. It fell in spirals. And sometimes, just for a moment, it looked like it was falling toward the building with purpose, like it was reaching for us. Tyler went outside again that day. Against everyone's advice, he said he needed to find his dog, a golden retriever named Max. Sheriff Hayes tried to stop him, but Tyler went anyway. He was gone 10 minutes. When he came back, his eyes were different, filmed over with white, like cataracts, but he could still see. He walked straight to the nearest window and stood there with the other changed ones. There were 6 of them by then. Dr. Walsh examined him. She told me his body temperature was 89 degrees. His pulse was 40 beats per minute. He should have been dead, or at least unconscious. Instead, he seemed content, peaceful even. He just stood there, watching the snow, and sometimes he smiled. That was the worst part, the smile. Day 10. By day 10, my laptop battery was at 82%. I was being careful, only using it an hour a day, keeping detailed notes about everything I observed. I'm a data analyst. Patterns are what I do. And I was starting to see one. Tyler wasn't the only changed one drawing on the windows. All 6 of them were doing it, using their fingers to trace shapes in the condensation. At first, it looked random. Then I realized they were all drawing the same thing, coordinates. I wrote them down and searched my laptop files. Before the internet died, I downloaded a bunch of local history documents for a project I was working on. Small town stuff, historical society records, old newspaper archives. The coordinates matched the location of the old Clearwater Ridge mine. The mine closed in 1920 after a disaster in 1919. 47 miners trapped after a collapse. Bodies never recovered. The mine was sealed and covered over. According to the records, it sat about 2 miles north of town, up in the hills. According to the coordinates, it was directly beneath the community center. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those miners, trapped in the dark for over 100 years. I kept thinking about Tyler's smile. It fit in. Mrs. Dorothy Miller was 71 years old and had lived in Clearwater Ridge her entire life. For the first 2 weeks, she mostly sat in a corner, muttering to herself about payment and debts and deep places. People assumed she had dementia. I wasn't so sure. On day 15, she came and sat next to me while I was working on my laptop. "You're trying to understand it," she said. Not a question. I nodded. "My grandfather was the mine supervisor," she said. "He's the one who ordered them to dig deeper. They'd found silver, but he wanted more. He wanted whatever else was down there." "What was down there?" I asked. She looked at me with clear, focused eyes. Something that moved in the dark. Something that had been sleeping. They woke it up, and it took them. All 47. Took them as payment for being disturbed. I wanted to tell her that was impossible, that she was confused, that it was just a mining accident. But I looked over at the changed ones standing at the windows, now numbering 9, and I didn't say anything. Every generation since, Mrs. Miller continued, we've kept it satisfied. Small things, small sacrifices. A person here, a person there, always volunteers, always willing. It kept it sleeping. But this generation forgot. The old families died or moved away. Nobody remembered. And now the debt came due all at once. She stood up and walked away, leaving me staring at my screen. Battery at 73%. Day 20. By day 20, there were 12 changed ones. They stood at the windows day and night, never sleeping, never eating. Dr. Walsh had examined all of them. They were all the same. Low body temperature, slow pulse, filmed over eyes. Alive but not quite human anymore. The shelter was falling apart. We were down to 1 meal a day. The generator was running on fumes. People were fighting over blankets, over space, over nothing. Sheriff Hayes spent most of his time locked in the office, attached to the gymnasium. And when he came out, his eyes looked wild. The snow was at 20 feet now. We were completely buried. The windows showed nothing but white, except when the changed ones drew their coordinates over and over and over. That night, they all spoke at once, all 12 of them, in perfect unison, in voices that didn't quite sound human anymore. It wants to come inside. Everyone stopped. 200 people frozen in place, staring at the changed ones. It wants to come inside, they said again. It's almost ready. Then they went back to staring at the snow, smiling those peaceful smiles. And nobody slept that night. Day 25. I spent most of day 25 going through every file on my laptop, reading everything I could find about the mine disaster. Battery at 56%. 5 hours of careful reading. The official story was a collapse. But I found old newspaper articles, personal accounts, letters from the period. The miners had found something in the deepest shaft, something that wasn't silver. The articles didn't say what, but they quoted one survivor, a man named James Miller, Mrs. Miller's grandfather. It was winter itself, he wrote. Winter given form, the cold between things. It moved in the dark, and it was lonely. So lonely it hurt to be near it. The men couldn't stop digging toward it. They wanted to reach it. They wanted to keep it company. The mine was sealed 3 days after the collapse. James Miller shot himself a week later. I showed the article to Mrs. Miller. She nodded like she'd been expecting it. Every generation, someone has to go to it, she said. Has to keep it company for a while. That's the deal. That's how we kept it sleeping. But nobody's gone in 60 years. My mother was the last one. And now it's awake, and it's angry, and it's lonely, and it wants everyone. What happens if it comes inside? I asked. She looked at the changed ones. That, but to everyone. It'll add us all to itself. We'll be with it forever, frozen and aware and never quite dead, unless someone volunteers to go willingly, to be its companion, to tell its stories and keep it company in the deep places. You're talking about human sacrifice, I said. I'm talking about survival, she said. Day 28. Someone ran outside on day 28. A man named Robert Chen. 42 years old, father of 3. He'd been getting worse for days, pacing, talking to himself, crying. When he finally broke, he broke completely. He screamed and ran for the door and threw it open before anyone could stop him. The snow should have been there, a solid wall of white 20 feet high. Instead, there was a tunnel, a perfect tunnel leading down into darkness. Robert ran into it, still screaming. We watched through the windows, watched him run 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet down into the snow. Then he stopped running. He stopped moving. And then he dissolved. Not melted, dissolved. Became part of the snow itself, his shape spreading out and dispersing like food coloring in water. The changed ones, all 15 of them now, smiled wider. Sheriff Hayes came out of the office with a gun. He was pointing it at the changed ones, screaming at them to tell him what was happening, to make it stop. Dr. Walsh talked him down, took the gun away, led him back to the office. We sealed the door, piled furniture against it, but we all knew it didn't matter. If the snow wanted to come in, it would come in. That night, I heard knocking, rhythmic knocking from every direction, from the walls, from the floor, from the ceiling. Something was using the snow to build itself a body. Something was almost ready. Day 30. I'm writing this now, battery at 34%, because I think I understand. I think I've always understood, ever since I started documenting everything, since I started being the witness. The changed ones have been speaking more, always in unison, always the same message. It wants someone who saw, someone who documented, someone who can tell its story. Mrs. Miller explained it to me this morning. The entity, the thing that sleeps in the deep places, it's not evil. It's not even really hostile. It's just vast and old and desperately, achingly lonely. It exists in the spaces between things, between seasons, between life and death, between sleep and waking. It took the miners because they found it, disturbed it, and it needed company. It's been taking people ever since, one at a time, just enough to not be alone. But this generation forgot, and now it needs someone new, someone willing, someone who can tell its stories about the world above, about people and warmth and life, someone who's been watching and documenting everything. Dr. Walsh volunteered to go. So did 3 other people, brave people, who wanted to save everyone else. But Mrs. Miller said no. She said it has to be someone who witnessed, who recorded, who can tell the story properly. She said it has to be me. I could say no. I could refuse. But I've been watching the changed ones. I've been watching the snow build itself into something massive outside our windows. I've been watching our supplies dwindle down to nothing, and our generator sputter, and our people turn on each other. We have maybe 2 days left, 3 at most. The changed ones are all standing by the door now. They've moved the furniture aside. They're waiting. I'm going to wrap my laptop in a plastic bag. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to document everything right up until the end. If anyone finds this, if anyone reads this, please know that I chose this. I walked into the snow willingly. I went down into the deep places to meet something ancient and cold and lonely and I did it to save everyone else. I just hope they remember me. Battery at 31%. I'm going now. Final entry. Source unknown. The snow stopped on day 31. It stopped all at once, like someone had flipped a switch. One moment it was falling, had been falling for a month straight, and the next moment it was done. The sun came out. The temperature rose 30 degrees in an hour. The snow began to melt impossibly fast. Rescue crews arrived within 6 hours. They'd been staged 40 miles away, waiting for any break in the storm. National news had been covering it for weeks. The month-long blizzard that buried an entire Colorado town. Meteorologists had no explanation for it. Climate scientists were baffled. And then it just stopped. They evacuated everyone from the community center. 200 people, malnourished, traumatized, but alive. The changed ones, 15 of them, were confused. They couldn't remember why they'd been standing at the windows. Their eyes were normal. Their body temperatures returned to normal over the next few days. One person was listed as missing, but nobody could remember who. The records showed 201 people had entered the shelter on day 1, but only 200 came out. Search teams looked for a body. They never found one. Sheriff David Hayes retired a month later. Dr. Rebecca Walsh moved to Arizona. Tyler Bennett still lives in town, though most people left. He has strange scars on his hands, frostbite patterns that look almost like writing, but he can't remember how he got them. Clearwater Ridge is mostly abandoned now. Too many bad memories. The community center still stands, but nobody goes there, except sometimes people driving past on winter nights report seeing lights in the windows. They report seeing someone sitting inside with a laptop, typing. But the building has no power. The generator was removed years ago, and when they stop to look closer, there's nothing there. Sometimes posts appear on forums like No Sleep, written by accounts that don't exist, posted from IP addresses that resolve to nowhere, posts about storms that never end, about snow that falls upward, about things that live in the deep places, lonely and ancient and patient. The posts are always well documented, always detailed, always written by someone who needs people to understand, to remember, to know what happened. But nobody can ever remember who wrote them. In the old Clearwater Ridge mine, sealed and buried under 2 miles of rock and snow and time, something is no longer lonely. It has a companion now, someone to tell its stories, someone to document its existence, someone to keep it company in the spaces between seasons. And sometimes, very rarely, it lets that companion reach out to the world above. To type on a laptop that shouldn't have power. To post stories that need to be told. To warn people about debts that come due and sacrifices that must be made and the terrible price of forgetting. This is one of those posts. I'm posting this because I need you to know. I need someone to remember. I'm still here in the deep places, and I'll always be here. The snow is warm down here. The entity is patient. It shows me memories, centuries of them. All the others who came before me. I'm not in pain. I'm not suffering. But I'm also not free. I exist in the space between. documenting and remembering and telling stories to something that will never let me go. My laptop is still at 3% battery. It's been at 3% for months now, years maybe. Time is different down here. The battery never dies because I'm not really using the laptop anymore. I'm part of the snow now, part of the deep, and when I type, the words just appear. If you're reading this, please remember that someone chose to save their town. Someone walked into the storm willingly. Someone made a deal with winter itself. Please remember me, even though you won't be able to. Please remember that I was here. The snow is starting to fall again in Clearwater Ridge. Just a few flakes. Nothing to worry about. Not yet.